Joining us now, Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois. He sits on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. He also served in the Air Force in both Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom, and continues to serve in the Air National Guard. Congressman, first of all, thank you as always for your ongoing service. You know, both the president and the Secretary of State, as we just played, say they would negotiate with Iran without preconditions. That sounds a lot like his approach to North Korea, and it's at a standstill.
Yeah, I'm glad they're willing to with Iran. I think this is a situation where there needs to be negotiation, especially when it comes to re-entering a nuclear deal, but that also includes things like ballistic missile development and, most importantly, behavior in the region. So that's fine, but I do think there has to be ramifications. At this point, it appears to be economic ramifications for shooting down this drone. I think people need to keep in mind this is not like the drone that your uncle flies over, you know, the 4th of July. This is the size of an airliner. And economically, it's about the same cost as if 8 F-16s would have been destroyed, because it's just about $200 million. So it's a pretty big deal. There has to be a cost to Iran.
So are the sanctions enough?
You know, look, I'm a big believer in this idea. It's what we did with Northern and Southern Watch in Iraq, which is use it, you lose it. So basically, if you shoot at something of ours and hit it, you're going to lose what you did. You're going to lose that asset. But given that the president's hesitant to do it, which he has every right to make that decision, whether I agree or disagree, hopefully these economic sanctions, I'm not sure what all can be leveled that's left, but I'm sure they have a whole bunch of options, and it's got to inflict some, at least economic damage at this point.
And he's hoping that's going to draw them back to the negotiating table. But the president saying this weekend, maybe dangling a carrot here, it's time to make Iran great again. Listen to this.
Iran wants to become a wealthy nation again, become a prosperous nation. We'll call it, let's make Iran great again. Does that make sense? Make Iran great again. It's okay with me.
It's okay with him. Make Iran great again. Are you down with that?
Yeah, if they modify their behavior and quit, you know, standing up Bashar al-Assad, killing 500,000 civilians, overthrowing the legitimate government of Yemen, destabilizing Lebanon, killing 250 American soldiers in Iraq. So I think it would actually have to take the people of Iran standing up and changing governments. I'm not calling for military overthrow of it, but the people need to change that. Then Iran can be great again for sure. But I think given their current government situation and what's driven them for 40 years, it's pretty tough to see. I'd love to get in a deal with them. I'd love to be able to do this the right way, but I can't. You have to color me a little skeptical, although it's a good try, I guess.
But weren't you very critical of the Obama administration's negotiations with Iran over the nuclear deal because you thought it was giving them too much wealth?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think ultimately what happens is what comes out of the deal. I remember during the negotiations with Iran, one of the things I asked Secretary Kerry, for instance, is asking about ballistic missile development and giving them cash. And the issue is this is why you have to corner in their behavior as part of this, because they took that cash, and I'm not throwing stones at past administrations in this, but what you do see is they took that cash and used it on foreign expeditions like in Syria, like in Yemen and elsewhere. That's the part that has to be controlled. You can generally have the same deal that needs to last a lot longer. We're already basically halfway through this thing starting to expire, but also control the behavior that comes with any cash.
Now, the president said in an interview that's out today he ignored the war hawks in his administration who wanted him to strike. There are reports that Fox News host Tucker Carlson has been privately imploring the president not to attack. Here's what Carlson has been saying on air.
We could beat Iran, but it would not be easy. It would cost trillions of dollars. Many thousands of Americans likely would die. China would love it. They'd be the only winners in that conflict. Donald Trump was elected president precisely to keep us out of disasters like war with Iran.
Are you concerned that Fox News personalities have more sway over the president than his advisors?
Yeah, of course it's a concern. I mean, you know, look, I think Tucker said some nice things about Vladimir Putin in the past. He's a non-interventionalist, and that's fine. I respect that opinion. The difference is the president has every right to not make a strike decision, and I do like that he's getting kind of input from all corners, but you can't put something on somebody that just has a TV show, and I'll tell you why. Because You know, the military, we all like to say we don't want another war. There are so many options up to war that the military can be used that's much smaller, that won't start a war, but that also will defend our assets and our people. And so people are oversimplifying this by saying if we strike Iran, we're going to go to World War III. It's just simply not the case.
How do you think Iran would have responded, though, if the U.S. had done those military strikes?
You know, I think it depends. So if you hit a proportional response, for instance, the things they used to shoot down our drone, with a simultaneous message that says, we have way more options, we don't intend to do any more than this, but if you respond, the response from us will be disproportional and devastating, I don't think Iran would do anything because they don't want a war. The people that are saying they're trying to goad us into a war, it's absolutely not true. They don't want it, but they are taking this up to where they think they can without a U.S. response.
I also want to ask you about the ICE raids that the president postponed that were supposed to begin today. He said he wanted to give Congress 2 weeks to come up with an immigration that closes loopholes. He'd previously defended the raids, though. Listen.
We're very focused on MS-13, getting them out. And I hope you're not going to stick up too much for MS-13. But we're very focused. ICE these are fantastic people. We're very, very focused on getting MS-13 out of this country.
He said that just a couple of hours before he called off the raids. If these raids are really to target MS-13 members, why give them a 2 weeks heads up?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of backstory I'm starting to learn, including the idea of this was leaked, so maybe some of the details, giving heads up to people. Look, I actually want comprehensive immigration reform. I've said that 100 times. But I also think if you get a deportation order from this country and a order that you must leave, I have no problem with people being removed from this country. That's the point. But we need to fix this overall. If this gives us a couple weeks to at least fix a little part, great. But we need a massive fix to immigration that I think 80% of the American people would love if we got it done.
I think you're right. Congressman Adam Kinzinger, thank you for your service and thank you for your time.
You bet. Take care.